So good afternoon, everyone. This is Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Tech Council. And today I am really excited that we are live from the East Liberty Maintenance and Operations Center for the Port Authority. And you could hear that overhead voice that's giving some instructions. And I'm going to tell you, we are in an electric bus that is a New Flyer electric bus. And we're going to talk in a minute. I'm going to bring her on, Jennifer McNeill. I'll formally introduce her in a moment. But before we get started, I just want to give some thanks to everyone. First of all, Huntington Bank, because you know what? We have Jonathan Kirstings with us each and every day. He's Vice President of Media and Marketing. And you got to say, Jonathan, they really are helping us with anything that we do that is innovative, just in time, having fun.
Safety of others. Your nose and mouth.
Absolutely, man. That's why it's been such a weird.
So you can hear the background there, but thank you to Huntington Bank for always believing in us and believing in our experiments that we work on each and every day to make sure that Southwestern Pennsylvania is amazing. We have muted your microphones. We've not muted mine because you can hear in the background that you're going to hear some instructions periodically and a little bit of noise, but not much because we're in an electric bus, so it's pretty exciting. So we have a chat, then you can ask questions. Jonathan will keep his eye on that. This is not an opportunity for you to sell your wares. This is an opportunity to just enjoy, listen to our guests, talk about all the things that she's involved in, and we're just going to get started. So thank you everyone for being here. We're going to be talking about electric vehicles, and at the council, we are extremely bullish on EVs for a few key reasons, just to set the table. One, they are great for air quality. And many people know that Pittsburgh has struggled over the years in terms of issues around air quality, but we've really gotten better. It's a lot of good news in that arena, but we care about that. The other is the use of local energy that's produced right here across our 13 county region. We have a lot and a lot of ways to help perpetuate electric vehicles and the technology therein. And then they also require advanced materials and advanced technologies. So any of you know Pittsburgh, you know that's sort of the heartbeat of what we do and who we are. And many are manufactured right here in Pennsylvania. So I'm in the bus. I'm in the New Flyer electric vehicle. I'm recording my first on-location session of business as usual. And if you can't tell, this is the Port Authority's garage in the East End, which is actually East Liberty, and I'm inside the Port Authority's new electric bus. So I am very, very stoked. So today we're going to, I'm going to introduce right now Jennifer McNeill. She's the Vice President for Public Sector at New Flyer, which actually manufactured the vehicle that I am standing in right now. Well, I'm actually sitting, so I'm not standing. But I am sitting in this vehicle and I love it here. I love being in this bus and I am so excited to talk to you, Jennifer. First of all, welcome, Jennifer. I know that you are calling in from Winnipeg, right? And we love our friends in Canada. We love the work that you're doing. And before we talk about the exciting work with the Port Authority, can we just take a minute to learn a little bit about you, a lot about New Flyer, and sort of the legacy of New Flyer with a long history and in a lot of groundbreaking innovations. So thank you, first of all, for taking the time.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you, Audrey, for having me on your show today. I'm so jealous. I'd like to be there in the bus with you rather than here at home. But nonetheless, I think we'll have a great half hour together. So as you introduced me kindly. I'm Jennifer McNeill. I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for New Flyer's public sector business. And New Flyer is a transit bus manufacturer that has been in business for more than 90 years. So we were actually established in 1930. And if you look at New Flyer's history, we actually have this history of innovation where it's punctuated by a lot of firsts. And so today, almost half the transit buses in the US and Canada were either manufactured by New Flyer or supported by New Flyer. We actually had a series of acquisitions where we bought other vehicle manufacturers in the space. So we do think that we are a leader, not just in manufacturing, but also in innovation. And we have a really robust support team, and we are so proud of our relationship with cities like Pittsburgh. It's a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Every transit bus, including the one that you're sitting on, is kept in service for somewhere between 12 and 20 years, depending on the transit agency. So, you know, with that type of really long relationship, we get to innovate with our customers, and we get to see that progression over time. So, you know, some of the firsts that we are really proud of, our first zero emission bus was actually an electric trolley that was introduced to Toronto in 1968. So we've been working on zero emission vehicles for quite some time, but we also were the first transit bus manufacturer to manufacture low floor buses, like the one you're on, and the first to introduce diesel electric hybrid buses. And that was all before 1998, if you can imagine. So more recently, we've focused all of our innovations around technology that makes for more livable cities. So things like zero emission propulsion, automated driving technologies, connected vehicles. So basically using technology to improve the quality of life in urban areas. We really strongly believe in public transit. We think it's the spinal cord of cities. And it's a real key factor in the remobilization and economic recovery across North America in the next, 12 to 24 months, we think. So over the last decade, some of the key things that we introduced, we actually piloted our hydrogen fuel cell bus at the 2010 Vancouver Olympics, and we are now on our second generation fuel cell bus. We introduced our first battery electric bus in 2012, and we're actually now on our third generation battery electric bus. We opened a vehicle innovation center in Anniston, Alabama to help educate our customers and industry participants on the new technology so that we could all find solutions together. And we also recently in 2019 introduced an infrastructure solutions team. So with every one of those electric buses comes a charger. And we like to get involved and help our customers with figuring out the right charging solutions for their vehicles. So it's been a really exciting decade. And even the last, I would say 12 months, we've done 5 or 6 different product launches, including our automated vehicle. But it's a real exciting time in transit.
So during COVID?
During COVID. Mm-hmm.
Nothing stopped you?
So our Vehicle Innovation Center was an in-person experience up until COVID, and our amazing marketing team pivoted to create a digital experience. And our next product launch is actually tomorrow for an electric motor coach, on our virtual platform.
Wow. So let's just, sort of reel it back for a second. We didn't talk about you.
Oh.
What about your background? What's your background? Like, how did you get into all this?
Well, I am actually a mechanical engineer by trade, but my engineering experience was primarily in aerospace. So much like Pittsburgh, Winnipeg is actually a bit of a technology town. And I worked in an aerospace company for about 17 years before joining New Flyer in 2012. So started out as an engineer, went over to the dark side of sales and marketing. I do have a business degree as well. And I found that I actually kind of love taking technology and translating it into kind of practical solutions.
So much fun. So you're having a lot of fun.
I am. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely are. I can tell. So, you talked a little bit about alternative fuel sources and, New Flyer's pushing autonomy. Let's talk about autonomy a little bit. What's the strategy in the AV space, and how is that manifesting itself and how are you supporting customers there?
Sure. So electrification has actually opened up other innovations. And so if you can imagine, automated vehicles require a lot of different control systems that are basically all connected electric systems. And so in January this year, we launched our Excelsior AV, which is North America's first fully automated level 4 heavy duty transit bus. And level 4 basically means it is fully automated, but there is a safety attendant on board. It's not completely unmanned, if you will. But our intent there at the end of the day, exploring automated driving technologies is really about improving safety. So with a combination of technologies, like our auto drive system, which includes LiDAR, radar, and cameras. And then there's an auto drive by wire, which kind of controls the steering, braking, throttle. You can actually add to the capabilities of a human, right? If you can see with LiDAR, radar, and camera 360 degrees around the bus, you're actually adding to the ability to assess the situation and respond to your surroundings. So that's kind of our ultimate goal there. The problem is that today, regulations and standards don't exist for fully automated vehicles on public streets. And so while everybody wants to talk about the technology, the hard stuff like figuring out the regulations, testing, standards, nobody wants to do that until they can see the technology. So our strategy was to develop a prototype vehicle, which we have running around a closed campus in Maryland. And we have also partnered up with a transit agency in Connecticut Transit, to do a closed course demonstration, or not closed course, but a controlled course demonstration, so that we can, incentivize and excite people to start actually answering the hard questions as well. In the meantime, though, many of the features like parking and docking assist or blind spot warnings or collision, pedestrian detection and collision avoidance, those things can be deployed. And so, while we may not be deploying fully automated vehicles for a while, the technologies can be sort of pared back and deployed in a more commercial setting that way. So that's kind of our strategy with Excelsior AV.
Yeah, I mean, essentially it's classic iterative design, right? So you're just
Exactly.
constantly getting feedback from the customers and figuring out ways that you can deploy things, which is really cool. So it's good for you in your sales role because you get to talk to the customers all the time and be part of the transportation strategy. So where can you talk about where these vehicles are made and where is R&D conducted?
Sure. So we actually have 3 different manufacturing facilities in North America, or 3 different manufacturing lines. There's one in Anniston, Alabama, one in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and then we have a split line that is partially manufactured here in Winnipeg, Canada, and finished in Crookston, Minnesota. And our Canadian customers and a few of our American customers go through that line, but the other 2 are fully built sort of from raw steel to rolling out the door in the United States. And so all of our vehicles are actually equipped to manufacture zero-emission buses. We actually think that although it's a relatively small proportion of our deliveries today, it's going to double every year for the next few years. And so we wanted to make sure that we made that investment. During COVID, we invested in all the tooling and equipment and 150,000 hours of training for our employees to get everybody ready to go for zero-emission vehicles. And so the most recent deliveries that we expect for Pittsburgh actually to be delivered later this year will be manufactured in Anniston, Alabama. The vehicles that you are on right now, I believe, were finished in Crookston, Minnesota.
And soon, I'd like to, at some point, we'd love to hear about a way to get even tighter connected into Pittsburgh. And the R&D is being done where? Every one of those, everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, we have engineers in all of our facilities, and the beauty of Zoom is that the collaboration has become kind of that much easier. But one of the interesting things that we have found over the last couple of years, we have acquired a number of different bus manufacturers. So New Flyer is just one brand owned by our parent, NFI Group. Motor Coach Industries is another, and that's mostly for commuter coaches and kind of over-the-road coaches. And then Alexander Dennis is a UK-based bus and coach manufacturer that is also part of the group. And we have a cutaway vehicle manufacturer in Indiana called Arbuck Specialty Vehicles. And so all of the engineers from all of those teams are now part of our Shared Technology Council. And so in addition to the engineers that we have in Canada, in Minnesota, and in Alabama, we are now also sharing technologies with all of the global brands. And you'll actually see that ARBOC's most recent vehicle that we launched a couple of months ago has pretty much the same technology as the vehicle you're on right now. So we're kind of sharing resources and leveraging technology.
Well, in 1 minute, I think I'm going to ask Jonathan if there's a question, but
For your safety and the safety of others, keep your nose and mouth covered while riding.
so Pittsburgh is a community with strong DNA in the electric vehicle supply chain, particularly as it relates to advanced materials, as I mentioned earlier. Can you talk about how you source new suppliers and the role in open innovation plays in your company overall?
Absolutely. And so we agree, Pittsburgh is a strong participant in our supply chain. And so the vehicle you're on is actually equipped with Siemens advanced electric drive components that are manufactured in New Kensington.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I heard that when I did the tour last week. That's a great one.
Yeah. But in general, in addition to sharing engineering, we also share our global supply chain team across the different brands of vehicles. And so we look for suppliers. We're always evaluating new technologies and suppliers against our technology roadmap. We look not only for innovation, but we also look for suppliers that understand and can accommodate the rigorous demands of transit operation. You know, not every vehicle out there lasts for 12 to 20 years. And so you need a supplier that can understand that and provides, you know, really reliable technology that works, because those buses need to make rollout every single day.
Right, totally. So Jonathan, are there any questions you want to grab? Because I think we might have a cameo appearance from Catherine Kellerman.
I know. So let's make sure we get these questions in before Catherine arrives. And Jennifer, welcome to the show. This is such an awesome conversation. Let's talk about batteries here. So Sam Brower wants to know, are these buses using lithium iron phosphate batteries, and how long do the packs last in service? And what percentage of the bus's costs are in the batteries?
Oh gosh, okay.
So do the best you can. It's all good. Don't worry.
They are using lithium-ion NMC batteries. They are manufactured by Exalt Energy in Michigan. So these are actually US domestic supplied batteries. There are quite a lot of them. I think there's 466 kilowatt hours on the bus that you are on. And that is a heck of a lot of batteries.
Right.
And they are approximately, you know, I would say they probably are about a third of the cost of the vehicle. Like it's extensive. And right now, you know, battery technology is improving all the time. Energy density is improving. But today, you know, the battery technology that we have makes those vehicles capable of about, I would say about 90% of transit routes before recharging. But there still are transit routes that are sort of longer than the battery's capability. And it always, of course, depends on the climate that you're in, because honestly, the heating and air conditioning draw more from the battery than the drive motor.
Wow. Are there any other questions out there, Jonathan?
Yeah, here's another really good one. So given your company's long-term relationships with customers, how do you work with public sector organizations to make these long-term investments in the face of volatile public funding, slow-moving regulators, and even changes in political administrations?
Oh gosh, that is a wonderful question.
We got a good audience, man. They got some good questions.
Well, so the one thing about public transit vehicles is that they have a very long sales cycle. So the point at which an agency decides that they wish to purchase to the point of delivery can be as fast as 9 months, but it can be as long as 3 years. And so we actually keep pretty good tabs on all the vehicles that are on the road today. When they come eligible for replacement, we actually monitor all of the public funding as well as the different priorities of the current administration. And, although I'm in sales and marketing, I am a huge data nerd. So we do a lot of predicting of kind of what we think the landscape will look like, just in terms of our 5-year forward look on the market. And then we just try to make good decisions with the technology roadmap and just keep advancing it forward, building on the lessons learned in the past, and just keep pushing it forward. So we make it work.
Well, let's see. Does anyone see if Catherine's out there? Can you see if she's not out there? Okay, she's not out there yet. So we know that Toronto's building one of the world's largest EV fleets through its mass transit. Is that trolley still running?
I do not believe the 1968 version of the trolley is still running, no.
So this bodes well for communities with harsher weather. I want people to understand that. Can you talk about what other cities are doing that are leading the way? And even ones that have the kind of weather that you folks have, that we have, the northern eastern part of the Americas.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I guess I'll describe a little bit about where our very first deployments were. And given that we're Canadian, we're kind of used to rough weather. Our fuel cell electric buses debuted at the Vancouver Olympics and were operated in Whistler, BC, so up in the mountains there. And our battery electric journey began in 2012 with the deployment of a test fleet here in Winnipeg. So, we actually started out in some of the roughest weather out there. But most agencies across North America are looking at their zero emission journey. And we actually think that, it's not a matter of if public transit will go zero emission, it's more a matter of when. It makes a lot of sense. And so most agencies have started with small test fleets to make sure that they understand both the technology of the vehicle and, even more importantly, their charging strategy and infrastructure requirements. So, we've deployed approximately 750 zero emission buses to 40 cities. If you do the math, on average, the number of buses per city is actually pretty low, because people are figuring out what their roadmap looks like and how they will do sort of deployment at scale on the zero emission vehicles. So most cities, many large ones like Toronto, Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, Vancouver, they've all made these commitments to only buy zero emission vehicles after certain dates in time to meet their city's climate change objectives.
So there's a question, Jonathan, from our old friend, Greg Babe, I see.
Oh, come in right there. Good to see Greg on the call. He wants to know what percentage of the fleet.
Yeah. One question from Greg, and then Catherine's on.
Absolutely. So what percentage of the fleet is fuel cell currently?
It's quite small. I don't think it even reaches 1%. But if you look at the forecast, let's just say, right now, what we see in our 5-year view is that around 40% of the vehicles to be purchased in the next 5 years are zero emission. And of that 40%, about 10% of those are fuel cell. If that kind of gives you a bit of a gauge.
That's great. So Jonathan, you said Catherine is here? Catherine, we have the CEO of the Port Authority, and
there she is. All right.
She's here. Hi there. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good morning. Which one is it? It's good afternoon.
It's afternoon, and I'm
see you on the disco bus, Audrey.
I know, I love it, and I've given everyone the day off. I told them all to go home. Let's take a break.
Well, they haven't called me, so they must be taking your advice.
Exactly. Yeah. So Catherine, I know you're excited about not only your organization, but the push towards electrification. You want to talk about that and your initial work in Pittsburgh, and what are the benefits? And we've got Jennifer McNeill on here. We're just having a ton of fun.
Good. All the women talking electric buses. So I just want to point out that's a little unusual, but I love it. I love it. So, so as folks who have been here forever know that Pittsburgh has a legacy air quality issue. Folks who are newer to the area might not know that. So when we're talking about cleaner buses, it's not just like saving the planet long term, it's an actual concrete impact in our neighborhoods, right? So clearly a clean electric bus is, and diesel is still better than a lot of other things it could be, but infinitely cleaner, getting rid of this reliance on fossil fuels, of course. So, there was, what was this malware attack on a pipeline system yesterday? If we were, doing spot buys on fuel, that potentially could have a disruption to service. I mean, there's all sorts of things which are sort of crazy about that. Going to electric is definitely much more sustainable. It gives us the ability to invest in not just electric buses, but also non-revenue vehicles. Can we help out with this transition to trucks, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes on with that. I would say also, if you are on that electric bus, Audrey, which you are, what do you hear?
I hear a lot of instructions and I don't hear much else.
Right. So the buses are very, very quiet. So when you think about the noise that you're used to in a really urban environment, there's also a huge component of us doing noise improvement, because we're not adding to this overall grumble. In fact, I remember when the electric vehicles came out, 15 years ago for fleet cars, folks in like the Lighthouse for the Blind, et cetera, saying, make sure there's something on the car so we hear it.
Right.
They're that quiet. They're super, super quiet. So we have 2 vehicles now, I think 6 on order. And as we're pulling together our strategic plan, we're including the transition to a completely clean fleet. One of our big pushes in the future
is that? How many buses is that?
So we have 720 vehicles, right? And so 6 down, 714 to go. And that serves our status quo right now. So any future expansion, we'll be looking at electric buses. So we replace 1/12 of our fleet every year, about 60 buses. So as we move into the future, it'll be 60 buses every year, 60 buses every year. Have to retrofit the garages. So we have more charging infrastructure. You've seen that at East Liberty. Also, it doesn't have an internal combustion engine. It has a motor. And how do we treat that differently? What are all the little things? It still has HVAC, still has brakes, still has wheels, still has a drivetrain, right? Like, so they're slightly different, but there's still a lot of similarities. When we build a 5th garage in the future, it'll be designed to go electric from jump. We will not retrofit vehicles. Going through 60 vehicles a year, I mean, it's 12 years, but it's still, why would you do that? And I had, at a previous agency, we moved to compressed natural gas. We also didn't retrofit. We just started buying every year. And that's a really great way to move forward into a clean technology future. So we are, we're excited, and you can see the blue buses in East Liberty, which is our most heavily traveled area. So it gives us a really good test case of stopping the bus really frequently, and what does a noise look like? And Jennifer may have touched on this. We have so many hills in Pittsburgh that our engine spec actually require. Yeah. So our engine spec says you have to go up a 16% grade. And I don't know that many other places that do that. So this is, if the bus can run in Pittsburgh, it can run anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, Jennifer. We didn't talk about sort of, the geography and the terrain.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Right?
Those, so, I'm going to geek out here just a little bit for you, but in general, electric motors have more torque than combustion engines. And the vehicle that you are on right now is equipped with a high grade PEM motor, of which some of the components are built in Pennsylvania.
Really? Woo-woo. So Jennifer, we're coming to the end of our show. We've had a treat. What are we missing? I know there are a bunch of questions out there, Jonathan. Do we have a minute to ask Jennifer another question?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let's go to Dirk Kelp here, because these things just really piled in here. So China is big in EV manufacturing. Are they your largest competitor? What is their market share in North America? And will Biden's intent to buy American bode well for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Another multi-pronged question. We love these.
Yeah, can you answer some of that?
I can actually. So the Buy America provisions apply today for electric vehicles that are purchased using federal funds. And so all of our vehicles, whether they are electric or conventional, comply with the 70% Buy America. And so as a result, the Chinese manufacturers are not necessarily our biggest competitors because they would be, held to those same standards as well. When we look at the current administration's priorities for Buy America and Buy American, which oddly are different things. You know, at this moment in time, all of our vehicles meet the requirements or exceed them. So we're not really overly fussed about the changes. I think what will be really important for us is working with the different committees to talk about how to do the calculations and how to get the entire supply chain in line. The last surface transportation bill just had some technicalities and logistics that were going to make it hard to administratively manage as opposed to meet. So the intent of it is fine. I think we just need to kind of sort out the details of how.
Covered while riding.
Well, listen, we are thrilled. We're thrilled to have had you on the show, Jennifer. It's been just a delight. Love hearing about your background. Love hearing about New Flyer. I love sitting in this bus. I want to give a huge shout out to the Port Authority and their team here, the drivers, the maintenance team, the tech folks. They are incredible. They just really are an incredible bunch. They're warm, they're friendly, they work crazy hours. They have been part of COVID in a way that many of us have no clue in terms of how they've managed their day-to-day life, their day-to-day lives, and still providing services, even when buses were down to only 15% ridership, and keeping it clean, doing all the work is just incredible. So Jennifer, we want to see you in Pittsburgh. We want to see you here on the ground. And I want to thank Catherine Kellerman. She's off. She probably just had other work to do, but for joining us today. This has been such a treat. She's waving, and can't thank them for being incredible partners and for the future. This is the future. It matters to all of us. So thank you. Who do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have the Michael Keaton-backed venture of Nexi.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Pittsburgh, very exciting. So we have Craig Ripple stopping by to talk about
another Canadian company. That's another Canadian company. And will I be doing it from the Port Authority is the question.
I think you might be
from this bus.
office now.
I know this bus needs to get back on the street, I think. So Catherine, thank you so much. Jennifer, you've been awesome. Cannot thank you enough. Really appreciate it. We will stay connected to you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the day when I can come visit.
Good stuff. Stay safe, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye all.